Family, friends, and dignitaries share their fond memories of the first Black county executive before he's laid to rest. Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, July 10th. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Gina Barti. Thank you for joining us tonight. Inside, it wasn't a time of mourning, but a time to reflect and rejoice in the life and legacy of Curry. Numerous past and present state and county leaders attended this homecoming celebration. Some had some very thoughtful words for the man deemed Mr. Prince George's. CTV's Stephen Graves has more.
This is Stephen Graves in Upper Marlboro at the First Baptist Church of Glenarden, and here words like fearless, relentless, colorful, and man of vitality were used today to describe Curry at his homecoming service. Now, leaders and of course his family showed up not to sulk in his death, but to celebrate his accomplished and influencing life. At times, it felt like church. And at times it was a quiet moment of remembrance. Both represented reflections of the man who transformed Prince George's County.
I will miss Wayne Curry. He was a great man. He was a great leader. He was a great mentor.
I believe that he was a giant of a man, not because of the amount of his accomplishments, but because of the depth of his caring. The fact that he was unafraid to care.
As Curry passes, he'll be known for his more than 4-decade legacy and long-lasting accomplishments. Curry's caring heart leaves behind Sheila, his wife of 23 years. He also leaves behind 2 children, Julian and Taylor.
And he is so proud of the woman that you become. Julian, your dad was beaming at that National Bar Association event, and he saw you as a man, and man was he proud.
Curry was also fun-loving and loved to laugh. Many of those closest to him found this as the perfect way to bid their farewell. One of these was his oldest brother and best friend, who spoke to Curry in heaven by phone.
Baby brothers. Wayne, really, Wayne?
Throughout the service, memories of Curry spanned from not only in the county, but statewide, nationally, and internationally, truly showing the vast amount of influence Curry had. Ultimately, this all relates to the fact that this was and still is Wayne's world. In Upper Marlboro, Stephen Graves, CTV News.
Rashawn Baker also declared during the service that a county facility be named after Curry in dedication to his long-lasting contribution to Prince George's.
And the prayers and tributes didn't end inside the church. Outside, people from across the area offered remembrances of Curry, who many say was Prince George's most passionate advocate. Rochelle Metzger reports.
We're here outside the First Baptist Church of Glenarden speaking with people as they arrive for the public viewing and funeral service for former county executive Wayne Curry. And everyone, it seems, has a story to share from a woman whose mother worked as one of his secretaries, and she remembers visiting his office and says Curry always asked how she was doing. To elected officials like U.S. Senator Barbara Mikulski, who describes Curry as a leader who wanted to tear down fences and create opportunities. She told us of a time years ago in Suitland when they were literally tearing down fences.
They wanted to put a barbed wire fence around the Suitland campus because it was teeter-tottering on blight. I stood up and said, there is no barbed wire fence around any federal facility. I'm going to chain myself to the fence and make a difference. And Wayne said, I'm going to do that right along with you. I'm going to be your lawyer, and we're going to tear down fences.
Just feet away, a growing line of well-wishers patiently wait to go inside and view the open casket. Like Mikulski, they've come to pay their respects, and many were happy to share what the beloved leader meant to them.
I remember coming in and he opened his office up to me and my son. My son was able to go into his office and hang out. She talked about how he would ask about him all the time. She had pictures of my son and me on her desk, and he wouldn't come in without asking how we were. So I think this is a very sad moment for the county.
The fact that he was sincere, I think I read somewhere that he said he wanted to make sense, not history, and I believe he made both, sense and history.
Wayne was like a mentor to me. I've been knowing Wayne since '72. We used to be next door neighbors. He was a good good. I call him my big brother.
A motorcade of family members arrived earlier in the morning behind the hearse and Curry's favorite classic red car. While the family opted to grieve in private, we did speak with a few close friends and a former housemate of Curry's who reflected on his life and his legacy.
I wound up moving from my family home to live with Wayne for a couple of years. We had a pretty good bachelor household, and the thing, probably the thing that I remember most, and it's continued up until the last his last days, was how much he mentored me.
In the last few months of his life, we had many opportunities to minister to him. We consider him a friend. So it's our honor to be able to be here to serve his family during this difficult time.
One of the reasons they decided to hold services at this church in particular is because of its capacity to seat thousands. And it's clear from the multitude of people who attended today, Wayne Curry's far-reaching impact, whether personal from a distance as a history maker and role model, or indirectly through his public service, will live on long after he's gone. In Upper Marlboro, Rochelle Metzger, CTV News.
And the family decided to include Curry's treasured red convertible in the motorcade. This to serve as a symbol of both his love for timeless classics and his belief that Prince George's is the crown jewel in regional politics and economics. And the Reverend Douglas Edwards has known the Curry family for many years.
He joins us in the studio tonight to give us more insight of the life of Wayne Curry. Thank you so much for joining us, Reverend Edwards. So, how long have you known the Curry family?
Since the late 60s and early 70s, I was a very close friend of Eugene the Bull Curry, and I had the opportunity of meeting the rest of the family through him, and the friendship just lasted up until present time. It's a great friendship.
Well, tell us about Mr. Curry. You know, we know him from politics, but you knew him personally. Tell us about him as a person.
Well, it's almost impossible to describe Wayne other than he was one of the most sincere and nicest people I've ever met if you get to know Wayne. And he's not that hard to get to know because once you meet Wayne Curry, he is a person that you want to know more about. He just sparks all the interest and you will seek it out if you have the time. But again, Wayne has always been a very colorful person in terms of his conversation, his language, and what have you. But it never bothered me at all because I loved Wayne for who he was and not for what, you know, the colorful language.
You mentioned colorful. You mentioned the red Volkswagen earlier.
Oh, yes. I'll never forget when Wayne decided he was going to become somewhat of a vagabond and take a trip all the way across country in his little red Volkswagen and did not have a job, and his dad and I was wondering how in the world is he going to make it. But it takes Wayne in order to accomplish this. If he said he's going to do it, believe me, Wayne Curry would do it. And he did make the trip and return safely.
Now, I know the little Volkswagen had such a sentiment with him, and his older brother actually gave him a model of it for him not to forget where he came from. It seems like, you know, his upbringing really kind of directed his path to where he ended.
It did. The Bull was, he ruled his family with a firm hand. But he was a good father, he was a good person. But they had a lot of respect for him, and so, yeah, that I say that 100% of who Wayne was before he transitioned was a result of his upbringing.
Tell us about the Mission of Love and how he helped you get that started.
Just before retiring from the federal government, I decided I wanted to do something that would be beneficiary to me as an individual, and it would not consist of a paycheck. It would be helping people. So I started the Mission of Love in 1991. Shortly thereafter, Wayne in '94 became county executive, and I had invested at that time about $75,000 or $80,000 of my own personal money, and I thought, well, grants must not be that hard to get, but they were. So I applied for my first grant through CDBG, and lo and behold, when I looked around, Linda Botts, Howard Stone, and Wayne Curry made sure that we got the first check, $21,000. I'll never forget it. And we were able to start giving the 3 or 4 people that we had that were volunteers a little stipend so they could get at least get lunch. And it went on from there. We started in a homeless shelter for women and children over at Shepherd's Cove. And I saw a warehouse once over in Capitol Heights, and I fell in love with that warehouse and was able to get a bond bill through and get $150,000 and put the down payment on it. Shortly after I got that, Wayne said, "How much do you owe in the mortgage?" I said, "Almost $300,000. He said, "Well, don't worry about it." And he contacted one of his partners in the law firm, and we burned the mortgage without ever having to pay a single note on that warehouse. And that was a result of Wayne K. Curry going through HUD and getting the funding to pay that warehouse off.
What a legacy.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And you're watching CTV News. I'm Gina Barty.
And I'm Byron Scott.